metaphorically. We are the debris, forgotten faces, never more to be. Instead of legends fighting for something that had no guarantees, living ghosts we chose to live and die as their worker bees. Why didn't we break out from their hide? Why didn't we follow our own sun to another life? Why didn't we scroll over all their flowers? Brothers and sisters, it's okay to be brothers and sisters, it's time to be freedom of movement, freedom of thought, freedom to choose, freedom to talk, freedom of religion and association, freedom of the press, freedom to be you, freedom to be you, freedom to be me. I can feel your secret vibrations like our last fading song. It's time, oh, it's time to be free. I can hear your vibrations like a final human cry. Oh, it's time, oh, it is time to be it's time, way past time to be free.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
G'day, how you doing?
I'm good. So we'll just jump straight into it today because we missed last week because of various things going on, including my birthday. And but we got Mark Aldridge on, and he's quite a character. And he came on last time, and he was a big hit. And here he is. He's the South Australian. How do you say? He's the thorn in the side of a lot of South Australian politicians. Welcome to the show, Mark, and meet John Stapleton.
Good
G'day,
morning,
Mark.
both of you. Good morning,
Mark.
everyone watching out there in watching land. Always a pleasure. And the first time I've met you, have we worked together, John? Your name rings a bell, actually. I think I've done something with you in the past.
Yeah, maybe.
But that could be years back.
It could be years back. Who knows?
Mm.
Who knows?
Well,
Yeah, quite
before we
possibly.
start, the world's still crazy at the moment. I've woke up this morning in England. They're arresting a restaurant owner, a Sikh, who won't actually cook halal food. So apparently he's been arrested. I don't know what's going on there. There's all manner of crazy stuff going on. But Mark, you really this week you've had which is why we'll watch you on now. Why don't you tell us about the amazing adventures you've been up to this week?
Oh, let me tell you how it starts, right? I've got this disease, weird disease. It's called empathy. And so I hear of someone's plight, and then I try to ignore it when I'm busy because I've got a business to run and obviously a political party to run right now. And then I sit there and go, yeah, nah, I better do something about it. So all it started with was a very basic call. One of my candidates had told somebody, someone had told one of my candidates about this lovely young couples that had been ripped off by a builder. And I went, it's only a 20-minute drive. And I had like an hour spare, and it's nice to get away from the home. So I went out to have a look at the house, thinking that it was just going to be, minor issues. Someone's
Gutters
built it,
and stuff.
gutters, just minor stuff. And I get there, and it's like the Raj Mahal. I mean, it's how do you describe this? It's been built by absolute amateurs with no idea how to build a home, right? That's all I can say at the beginning. And I take some photos. I put some stuff up online, a little bit about it, because obviously this was all new to me. And I get this responses on my pages that this is happening all over Australia. So I thought, let's find out what's going on here. So what these people are doing now in the end, I better not jump too far ahead. So I talked to my lawyer. Said, how can we help this poor couple? Because there's two couples that have bought these two homes. One couple's living in the home, but really probably shouldn't be for their own safety. And of course, they've got a young child. And the people that bought the house next door just cry every time I'm seeing them, because they bought this house, $800,000. It's not a big house. It's on this is where they knocked down a house and put two on a block. And they can't move into the house, which means they've got to pay rent and a mortgage, and they just can't do it. So they'll be on the street.
Wow.
If the other couple get kicked out. And I thought, this is really awful. And so I start to delve into what's going on here. And I thought, well, one of the best ways is to see if I can get a proper inspector in there and have a look at this place and see if it's structurally sound. And I'm starting to doubt that from my dad was a gas fitter, so I've been around building sites. I'm not thick to it, but everything just looked crooked. As you walk through the house, it felt like you were drunk. And I'm thinking, and then they started opening cupboards, and underneath the cupboards were where the water was coming out was a power point. And I'm thinking, well, you can't do that. I know that much. And then they pulled the oven out, and it's never been connected. It's taped in with masking tape. And I'm starting to go, ooh. When you turn the exhaust fan on, the doors, all the cupboard doors blow open because it's not been plumbed at all. So it actually blows smoke back into the house. And then it just gets worse and worse. So I'm looking around this house and I'm saying, this is really bad. How can we help these people? So I'm not sure the exact how I went about this, because so much has happened. So it starts with this, just an issue with a badly built house. So then I put a post up that everyone keeps ringing me, like the guy that was original site, proper site inspector, had quit and gone to the council, and the council, everybody seems to know about it, but no one seems to be doing anything about it, right?
Wow.
So I'm thinking, what do we do to safeguard these people? So I take lots of photos, videos, and I organised for the most professional inspector I can find. So all these building inspectors say, look, if this is as bad as you say, let's get the best guy in from the Master Builders Association. So I rang him up. I said, could you give me a hand with this? This is really bad. He starts to tell me that he is visiting houses in South Australia, and around 12 in the past month, brand new houses, people have been built. His advice is to knock them down. Knock them down. They're that bad. So I start looking into
Can I just ask,
right?
Mark, if they knocked it down, would that be covered by insurance?
No,
Wow.
it's how it's worked out, right? Like normally a builder who's obviously got insurance and everything else, a major builder built it, well, they'd be in a lot of trouble, right? So the loophole here, this is really interesting. It's taken me a while to get my head around it. So the loophole is that these people are coming over from mainly English, well, he's Indian in appearance, Indian sounding. Look, that could be a variety of different countries. He's not a citizen. He admitted that in a big, we'll explain that later. And he then decides to build a home as a builder occupier, right? Which means that he's building it for himself. So he slips under the radar, right? And then what should happen or used to happen is at the stage of the slab, at the stage of the framework going up and those sorts of things, there's inspections done, right? And those inspections used to be done by the council and probably better go back to being done by the council. But what he's gone and done is registered himself as a builder, but not built the home under that license, but used that license to be the supervisor, site supervisor, so he can sign off on
So
each
he's
stage.
his own supervisor.
Yeah. And of course, I know none of this at this stage. So this guy says to me about the house, he says, we need to know what's under what we're seeing, because if what we're seeing is so bad, we better go and look at what's under it. So I find out this guy's building these things everywhere. This is just one. There are hundreds of these people, hundreds of these people. So I go past this building site and I park the car. Sorry, that's my phone buzzing. I'll just put that up there. It's turned off. I park my car down the road and just wander past in my thongs, as you know, I'm a dad, and I start talking to this guy and he tells me how he's the builder, he's doing this for Australia and everything else. I said, oh, it's an interesting looking building. Can I have a look around? He goes, oh, you shouldn't really come in here with thongs on. However, none of the guys that were working there had PPE gear. So I just wandered past, but I've got the phone turned on the whole time, just recording, not in their face, but just, adversely recording. And I'm seeing things, I'm going, wow, like the steel framework's not connected. Some whole steel frames of the house have got one tech screw holding them in. And I'm thinking, this doesn't look too good to me. So I leave the site and I go back and I meet channel 10 on site a day later. I said, you need to help me expose this, because you cannot have Australian citizens, struggling to buy a home and then being out on the street with a home that's unlivable and with no real recourse. And so I'm pretty upset by this. So Channel 10 come and do part of the story. They then turn around and say they don't want me they've interviewed me, because obviously I understand what's going on a bit, even more now. They can't interview me, and it's come after speaking with the mainstream media. They've actually been saying, well, if we do this, it looks like we're being racist.
That's right.
And I'm trying to say to them, bastards come in every color, right? The fact that he's Indian or whatever he is irrelevant to this. So I get this master builder out, right? This is where it gets really interesting. He goes through it and he's telling me how many bad houses he's seen. And he goes, oh my God. He says, you've got to get up on the roof and see something. And I went, yeah, right. Because I've already got photos of the roof bad. And they've actually designed it all, however it's been built, where the water off of two roofs runs to a gap that just goes straight into the ceiling of the house. Can you imagine that? So they've just taken possession of this in January. And so when the rains come in South Australia, they've had a little rain and all water poured through their front windows and everything on the inside of the house. So this wiring and electrics, you can't have water pouring into a house through the ceiling. The ceilings are already starting to drop. The retaining walls are falling away, which means this house is going to fall into its neighbours. The reason the house was built up so high is they didn't want to remove the rubble, so they actually built the house on the rubble of the old house they knocked down, and I'm not even sure there's rebar. I'm not even sure there's rebar in the concrete, really, seriously. Wow, you have to see this. You'd have to probably put some pictures up. You're good at all that stuff. So I bring this master builder out and he has a look and he just goes, mate, this is a bulldoze job. The people can't live in this. And I'm thinking, oh my God, because if this guy's not a citizen, he can just do a runner. So he says to me, I said, we need to know can this be fixed at any cost? And I said, the guy's building more. Let's go down there together. So I went and did some political stuff. He had lunch and we went and we parked down the road from this new build site. And this guy's cottoned on now who I am, obviously somehow. And we walk up the road and the guy from the Master Builders Association's got his clipboard and he looks a bit more professional than I do. And as we approach, so we were approaching from 2 houses away. As we approach, all of the workers drop tools and run from the property. I mean, run from the property. And I'm starting to go, wow, what have we come across here? Are they proper workers? Are they meant to be here working? They're not in PPE gear. And we confront this guy, and it gets pretty heated really quickly. He won't allow us on site. So there's a master builders guy going, here's all my, he shows all his identity. He says, I'd like to just have a look in here to make sure you're building it properly. And this guy's adamant we can't go in. So I said to him, well, are you the owner of the property? He goes, no. Are you the builder? No. So he's not involved at all. He's trying to tell us. But, well, then can we go in, please? No, you're not coming into my property. And I said, you just said it wasn't yours. It goes like this for, probably 20 minutes or so. And I was filming it covertly, but just for safety of us, that we didn't say something wrong or whatever. Then he pulls the phone out in front of me, and his wife comes out in all the Muslim garb. Well, she might not be, but she has got the Muslim garb on. And they start saying that I'm a criminal and I'm doing all this sort of stuff. So, of course, I pulled the camera back up and I said, there you go. You film me, I'll film you. And it goes downhill even further. So he's denying he's anything to do with it. So I go over to, there's a sign on the site that says who the supervisor is. This is the guy that signs off on these types of builds. And I phone the number, and guess who it is? It's the guy in front of us, right? He's denying everything. And he then pulls the race card. You're only attacking me because of my skin color and all the, the whole thing. And so then he starts ringing me. So we do this. He wouldn't let us in. We go park down the road, and we're just chatting for a while. And I did a bit of a live, was it live or a video I put up, talking to the master builders guy about what he's seen at this site. And the site condition is just another whole story. I mean, it's just disturbing. And as we're doing that, the owner keeps driving around in circles to make sure we're not going back to look at the house. And then all his workers slowly sneak back and get in their cars and drive off, right? And they're in thongs and, so this guy Raj, right? And I call him Bob the Builder because I don't like to say that all Indians are bad people. I don't want people getting the wrong impression here. But the federal government, as you know, have said they want to bring in, 1 million workers to build Australia, right? That this was some deal done. And obviously some deals been done at a migration level because we're seeing a lot more people from certain regions than sort of across the board, with immigration. And it gets more and more disturbing. So then this guy's worked out who I am and starts sending me threatening messages and everything. And he says, you can't come on my site. And he's saying things to us in the video like, just because you're white Australian, soon it will be a black Australia, mate, and all this. So, we're going to take over and you can get fucked. Excuse me, you can fuck off. And so I ring the council and use some connections that I have with councils. And the next morning he gets raided by the council and shut down. And now all of a sudden he wants to start to look at, he's sent emails to the owners of these houses saying, I'd like to come and look at them and see if we can fix your problems. But he doesn't want anyone unauthorized on site. So he's been intimidating them from day one. So you might think this is a radical story, but this story goes just beyond just this. So then we find out from the people that bought it that they were taken into a room. These are new Australians, so they've been here 8-10 years, but they're not a paid with Australian consumer law, I would assume. And they've gone into this room, and there's another person bidding in the room. They don't do it outside the house, the bidding. The people outside the house are local neighbours who help me, are pointing out the faults. So, of course, they've run these bidders into the house, and they stopped the auction halfway. They tried to get one woman up from her $795,000 she paid, and the other person's paid 800 and something. The house that was less was slightly better because there was actually a supervisor there for the first part of the build. And then we find out, right, that the person in the room bidding against her is related. So there's not even a real bidder. Okay.
Oh, it's just someone pushing the
Then,
price up.
then it gets worse because what happened is this woman has had a building inspection, or not a very good one, that points out some faults. So she says to a real estate agent, I'm not going to settle until these things are fixed. And of course, they're not fixed. Then she gets told by all the neighbors. Now, this guy tells the buyers, Indian buyers, do not talk to your neighbors because your neighbors will hate Indians and all this sort of stuff. So he starts straight away with a division. So what's happened is the neighbors have come to him and said, this is not how it is in Australia. And so he's tried to convince them that not to talk to neighbours, and they've now realised the neighbours are fabulous and are helping them. And that's where I've got lots of other videos. So what then happens is she goes to her real estate agent of a similar name and says, I don't want to settle. I want out of this contract because this house is no good. The real estate agent then goes ahead with the final thing days later, doesn't reply to her, and is presently overseas in India and may not be coming back. Now, look, mate, this is corruption and disgusting corruption at a very big level. And of course, we need to safeguard Australian buyers because this could be fixed with very simple regulated change. But
I think,
yeah. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, I think this government promised to build a million new homes, didn't it? Is that how much does that play into it? What percentage of that
Bring
million
Indians in
homes?
to build it.
Yeah,
Well, my concern is, let me list some of the faults with the house to give you an idea. There can't be anyone that's using a tape measure or a level to start with, right? They've lifted this house up 1.5 meters above all other houses in the area to cover up the fact they didn't want to take away stuff, which may include asbestos. So another story there. The retaining walls are falling over already. It's been 2 months. So when the retaining walls fall over, the whole structure fails. Every single corner of the woodwork has masking tape and paint. Masking tape and paint. Okay, there's no construction standards here. This guy that's come from the Master Builders Association has put levels in, like a proper laser level. Look, the walls, right, like every corner of the house is out by 120 mil. Do you know how much that means? Do you get what I'm trying to tell you here?
Yeah.
The doors won't open, and they've gapped the door underneath by about 1.5 inches. So the bottom of the door goes like that, and it still won't open because the floor's so crooked. Some of the power points do and don't work. The power in one house doesn't work at all, and the power points in this one, they use a little rubber glove and a little stick, and they bash them to get them to work for one area. I mean, wow stuff. So there's no way in the world they have any understanding of construction. Okay, the concreting is at a level where I would be considered a professional. The plastering is at a level I would be considered a professional. And trust me, plastering is really hard. I'm no good at it at all.
Yeah.
Every single corner of the house, every window doesn't open properly. The front looks so bad, they put trimming up around the windows, but the windows are meant to wind outwards. But of course they can't now because they put these wooden trims and painted them white to cover up the angles being so bad. The roofing's had it. I mean, it's not going to hold the strength of time. Did you get any of these photos at all?
Yeah.
To put up? No.
Yeah. I'll see if I can find some. Hold on.
So how widespread is this? How
That's the
widespread do you
big
think
thing, isn't it?
Well, at this stage, this guy's built numerous houses. How a person that's not, an Australian citizen can buy the land and do all of this, and somehow hide who he is constantly, is a real issue to me. A real issue to me. I'm hearing of lots of others, but of course, this is like a gravy. This has gone from a little tiny issue to some massive issue. Because on
Sorry,
my
Mark,
social
where
media,
did you send the photos? Because I can't find them on my phone. I can't
didn't
find
I
them.
send them? I can't send them now. Well, you might have pinched them from my Facebook. I should have sent them, shouldn't I? I can't do that now, can I? Anymore? No, I can't.
Oh, you can if you send it through an email. But I'll try to get to your Facebook. Yeah, keep talking.
Well, you
Mark.
can
I'll
do all
just-
that.
Yep.
So basically, we're in a really, really bad way because when I talk to now, I got a half call yesterday. I'd like to have finished that call. I'm finishing that call soon, but a lot of people have stepped up here. So I've gone up against the Salisbury Council, who my mum's the mayor of. Excuse that, but they have said they're going to take some sort of legal action. The when I speak to the building inspectors of the council where the new one's being built, they're saying that they're trying to deal with it and stop him and everything else. But when you talk to some of the big associations that should be coming out today and talking about this, they're concerned about being painted as racial. And the media are doing the same thing, because the guy's, Indian. There's an example of your roof line. I don't know what you call that. The worst roof part is actually there's not a photo of that because I got up on the ladder and I'm not a ladder climbing person. So to reach around to see it, see the laser level
green
there?
line. That's supposed to be. That's
where it's
level. That's plumb. Yeah. Oh my God.
If you
Oh, I
look,
see.
you see the laser
Yeah.
level there.
Yeah.
As you go through, I'll explain these things. It's the levels are just completely out. That's now stop there for a sec.
Sure.
It's impossible to see properly, but the water runs down behind the facade. The facade runs back to there. There's no gutter off it. It's just got to run into the roof. The water's just going to run into the roof of the house, just above the front lounge room, I would call that.
Wow.
That's just what they've done is instead of using long beams. So if you were doing a house and you were doing your skirting boards, for instance, and you'd cut a full length and have a bit left over, they use all the bits left over. So they then put tape across them and paint them white. So all those cornices, instead of being one piece, they're all the scraps. The same with the roof as well. They use all the scrap material, so it's not properly built. That's meant to be a gutter, but if you see how the water is, it can just run alongside into the roof.
Yeah.
And you can see the paintwork there. There's a video too of see how they tape the corners? They can't miter cut. That's tape at the top there, that's tape. And then painted over the top.
Brand new house.
This is brand new, $800,000. See the PowerPoint under the water? Now, I don't know if you know much about construction, but you don't do that. That is a big, big no-no. A lot of these cupboards have got, see the door? Well, you can't open that door properly because it hits the floor because the floor's worse than the walls. That's the oven. The oven was never connected, and the gas cooktop above it had no power to the igniter. So they've run an extension cord through their house to be able to at least cook some food for their family. That's behind a mirror. When we started doing a proper inspection, we started looking behind things. So what they've done is where there's issues in the house, they've put this wood up or boards or mirrors or whatever, and they just cover the holes. That's actually supposedly meant to be a PowerPoint hole, I would suspect, but it's not where you're meant to have one.
Yeah.
Some of these have got live wire. That's the masking tape again, or builder's tape. So you can imagine this house, what it would look like. That was Channel 10 coming up to have a look. You can imagine, this is just the walls. Just have a look at the wall in front of you. Just have a look at the wall, the lines of the wall there.
Like
so this is built.
Pisa.
It is worse than that. It's really, really bad. And these people are in tears. And this guy, see that's the range hood. See where that's plumbed to? So when you turn it on, it opens the doors. It's meant to go up into the ceiling. So this is the construction standards. That's a PowerPoint to the garage.
Oh my God.
They use a rubber stick sort of thing to try and turn it on and off. It doesn't always work. I refuse to put my finger near it. Outside, that's your concrete quality. And when we turn the tap on, it doesn't run to the drain. It runs back to the actual house foundation, everywhere around the house. You can't see that so badly. That window there is terribly done, and water runs back inside. And of course, the bench tops haven't been sealed, so that what looks like nice marble is actually like a plywood. So the water's just getting into it already. It's starting to fall apart. I don't know if you can see. That picture's just to see the angle, the sheer
Yeah, yeah.
angles.
Yeah,
Behind
yeah,
that cupboard there, we dragged one of the cupboards out. Oh, sorry, that's us,
yeah.
beautiful people.
Yep. No
So
worries.
we dragged the cupboards out. That's Raj, the builder, who's never used the thing. That's them using it on the work site, and it actually fell over. That was actually an excavator, and they were all in thongs, and they're all trying to push the excavator up. Luckily, the
Oh, so the
neighbours dobbed them
excavator
in.
fell over.
Workplace safety been out there and kicked a few people out. So that's the sort of standards. Now, there seems to be no one, like the state government don't want to know about it. The media are reluctant
Why
to
do
do
you
anything.
think that is, Mark? Is it because
I-
Labor
I-
is reliant on the Indian vote?
I think so. I mean, I've been doing very well as a party with working with a lot of the Indian people because I'm a bit anti division in the community. I think that we're seeing populist politics, attacking Indians based on being Indians, where instead of attacking an Indian dickhead for being a dickhead. And
Yeah,
so
as individuals. Yeah.
it's an individual issue. It's being empowered by the state government, not wanting to offend anybody.
Can I
The
can I
media.
just let in for a sec? This is hey Bill. This is Bill over here. In New South Wales, the council inspector has been replaced by the builder's choice of inspector. I wonder if
That's what's happened
happening
here.
in South-
And
that sets them up for corruption because you can just pick your.
first of all, you need to abolish that. That's pretty simple. Secondly, I think you shouldn't be able to buy Australian land unless you're an Australian citizen, but that's a different political argument. And I think
John, close your ears. Gary Reid, as a retired carpenter builder, excuse the French, but FUCK.
well, when we went to the site, and I'm not an expert, in South Australia, something happened many years ago that I loved. It was before my time. A guy named Playford, he built all these trust houses, and they're like a attached house. So there's a house either side, and they were built back when we had another issue similar with migration and housing, and they built this housing called Housing Trust SA. And what this guy's done is cut half a house off. Well, wow! I wish I had the video of that. It's disturbing, but the site's disturbing. This is disturbing, but what's most disturbing is the media should be covering this, and I'm glad you guys are, because if you've got kids out there, if they're about to buy a home, it's highly recommended that you get someone out there to inspect it prior to paying any money out, and you make sure your real estate agent is divorced from the whole thing, so as if you find a problem, you can hold back your money. I mean, that is pertinent right now, obviously.
Well, look, see here, just a sec, Mark. Just 2 secs. Kathy Devrend, I own a Masterson house that was built with cheap products, and I have nothing but major issues with it, including a lot of water damage. I can't afford to fix it, sadly. That is so sad, Kathy. So you're getting into a house now, the mortgages, fuel, everything, cost of living. People don't have the money to fix these issues. And surely we've got all these regulations in place to prevent all this. I thought we were sort of drowning in regulation. So how can this possibly be happening? Is it just the authorities are turning the other way?
I think people are frightened to get dragged into the race card. And I must admit, I'm probably one of the only politicians from the centre right, or if you want to call it that is against division as well, whereas other people are playing on that divisional community thing. But in situations like this, where every builder that's doing this is a migrant builder. Now, you could argue that it's the standards they're used to. That could be more the case. And you could argue that
well, not really, Mark, because I mean, if you're in India, you've got the monsoons and stuff. I'm pretty sure that if Indian people bought a house, although I don't know how hard it is to buy a house in India, they'd want to buy a house that was actually could stand the test of time and not actually drown in their own house within the monsoons. You'd think that, but I don't know.
I was sat in Bali. I've sat in Bali having bintangs more than once because I've got kids over there and watched them build a house and gone, oh my God. And that's why a house or a building in Bali really has a very limited life expectancy, maybe 10, 15, 20 years. Whereas in Australia, you build a good house and it's there forever because of the quality of our craftsmanship. And I go into this house and think to myself, please, can you bring the Indonesians in to build the houses? Because seriously, the Indonesian built house is far more better construction. I mean, I think they're using tape measures. I think they're using levels, plumb bobs, that kind of thing. But my problem is this needs to get out nationally, and there needs to be an investigation into it. If this is now, I haven't done one expose, so let me tell you about it. But just around the corner from here, and I've been time poor, they're building some units to accommodate the workers they're going to bring in from India to build our homes. Right now, we've got X amount. I think it's I think Australia's 160, 170,000 homeless people at the moment, right? So seriously, if you're going to build some emergency accommodation, could you put them up first? But anyway, let's get away from that topic. And a guy showed me through one, right? Because I'm looking at, as a party, we're looking at affordable housing. So we're looking a bit outside the scope, these 30, 40 foot container homes, things like that. So there's options. And I've been and inspected them, and they are 10 times better than what this house is. I mean, seriously, they're structurally much better. But this accommodation that they're going to put the Indian workers into is like a bit smaller than a container on the bottom floor, and then there's a top floor, which is your kitchen lounge, right? So they're pretty small. I mean, I've never seen anything quite so small. While I'm walking through it, they're telling me not to walk in the middle of the room. I could fall through. And you open these doors and there's a balcony out the back. And they said, don't walk onto the balcony, it's starting to fall off. And I said, what, from weight? And they said, no, it's just falling off. It hasn't even been used yet. So they've got this estate near us, which I'm going to go and expose maybe today or something, where they've got like 50 of these on a block. 50. No backyard, no front yard, nothing. Besides this little back area that will fall off. And this has been approved. This stuff's been approved to be built, and I don't understand how it gets approved. So this is the government can bypass usual standards and usual laws to allow these to happen, and I suspect they shouldn't be doing it. And of course, there's an election on next Saturday that we're going to the polls, and I would say there's a large reason why you're probably not hearing about this, because I'm getting phone calls from the media every day saying we want to do something with this, and then they come back to me, editors dropped it. So it might not just be the migration issue or me. I think a lot of it's got to do with an election coming up and being terrified that it will drag the Labor Party's vote down. And so it should. If the Labor Party know about this now, if I've just found all this rabbit warren of stuff, surely I'm not the only person that has. Surely the authorities have been alerted to this problem by now. And remaining silent.
Stories. We've got someone here already saying, so Jody Cusack, I did my painting and decorating 4-year trade back in 2001, winning apprenticeship of the year. Congratulations, Jody. We did a lot of work with Master Build Association. The standard was very high. We're ticking off all the work correctly done. We're also trained on OHAS and on all the building sites, hats, steel caps, first aid officer on sites. That's how I thought it was. So basically, so we've got builders going under everywhere, because I know in the last few years, we've lost loads of builders, and yet somehow these guys are coming through. What are your thoughts, John?
My thoughts, I just want to know how widespread it is, really. I mean, I think we should look at the broader issues, that the Albanese government is bringing in record numbers of migrants, and it's causing massive problems. I mean, if you look at macro business, this is ABS statistics. In the Hawke Keating years, we had 256 net overseas migration per day. During the Howard era, we had 407. And remember, he was the one that went and stopped the boats and promptly quadrupled the legal intake. Then under Rudd and Gillard, we had 617 net overseas migration per day. That dropped slightly during the Abbott, Turnbull, Morrison era, but that was also the COVID era. Went down to 610. Under Albanese, it's 1,162 per day. So that's an historic high. All the people who say that it's no more than normal, it's just basically misinformation. This is massive level of migration, and it's causing huge problems for ordinary Australian citizens. The average rent was, Cotality is a group that does these figures, $466 has gone to $687 now. So it's just huge. We're going to be hit with the Iran war, massive price rises. I mean, doesn't this then tie into the failure, basically, of Australia's immigration policies and the failure of the much touted multiculturalism of Australia? What do you think, Mark?
I agree. I never really. I mean, we looked at the figures. I mean, as a party, we looked at the figures and said migration is too high. So, I ran, the anti-migration rallies, as some know, but I made it a bit different. So, of course, March for Australia were organising those types of rallies. When I got involved in the organisation, I allowed Aboriginal flags, and I actually tried to push for more of our migrants to come along, because the issue we're facing is a national issue, and it affects everybody. We can't, lest we forget in this particular case, that the people that have done the wrong thing may be of Indian type background, but the victims are also migrant people. So,
Oh yeah,
we've got to keep that in hand. But I think migration levels need to drop, but then we turn around and look at some of the other issues. So in South Australia, for instance, our hospitals are running at 160 to 180 to 100%, which means that unless you build another 2 or 3 hospitals in the short term, in the next 5 years, the disaster of ramping and people dying in the corridors, which is happening now, will get worse. So we need migration, but we need proper skilled migration. I'm wondering here whether we know there was a scam, in these countries of fake buildings, fake certificates for compliance. I'm wondering if a way into Australia is to come in under skilled migration, but be doing so with false documentation that's not checked properly. And then these people turn up and they have some sort of supposed qualifications, and that's enabled them to build these places. But you've only got to look at the build quality to realise that I personally could build a house better than that. I think a 16-year-old boy with some instruction could do better. So I'm wondering if they are just coming in and being able to do this and get hold of a builder's license based on some sort of paperwork from the country they came from, and coming in under skilled visas. When under skilled visas, there's all sorts of things that they're fast tracked into their own housing, for instance. So, you can't have migration, people come from another country, and not be given a home, right? You can't say, "Hi, welcome to Australia, here's a tent." But we can say, "Hi, Australian people, here's a tent." Actually, I don't think we'd even provide a free tent to our homeless. So I think we've got massive issues. I am so concerned about the future of this country at a level I never have been in the past. I think this is just one of many, many, many minor issues that are getting swept under the rug by Labor's control over mainstream media to a degree. We don't want to offend anyone rubbish.
That's right. The offences, because Mark, can I say, can you mention the tragedy of a young Australian couple, regardless of what race they're originally from? You're renting like crazy. So just the fact that you've found a way to buy a house under these circumstances, and then you can't live in it, and then suddenly you're paying a mortgage and a rent. I mean, this family will never bounce. They won't bounce back. They won't bounce back from this. But the question for me is, we've had these regulations in place for donkey's years. They come down and they sign off everything. I remember when I had a cafe years ago, we were just changing the electrics around, and the builders were, "No, we can't do until an inspector comes and checks that electricity." Everything. It took ages, but I understood it because, this was going to have people in there. So I understood it, even though it cost money. But so those must have all gone. You know,
Well, they've found ways around it. Yeah, so we can't say these people coming in unintelligent.
no,
They've got a different set of maybe this particular person's got a different set of moral virtue than we have. There's a lot of things, but what we've got to look at here is that if you start building homes like this in this country and people are going to start dying right now, wow,
yeah.
this is not just
It's not
destruction,
just
but
dying from structural thing though, but it'd be suicides and everything. I mean, look, you're sitting there with a huge mortgage to rent, and you can't. This is, and it's just basically wrong. You're
oh,
going to buy a
it's
house.
awful.
This is like,
Yeah.
this is you buy a house, you take it for granted. The house is actually going to be able to stand up for 10 years. It's not a big lot to ask considering the amount of
Oh,
money
this
to pay
this
for it.
this house couldn't last 10 years. I can't see how it viably could. The stormwater runs straight into the chassis, to the foundations. There's no stormwater runoff
We
from
should
the front at
maybe we
all.
should do a call out. Is anyone else? We've already had two people on here that are facing this situation. If there anybody else, call out. We'll tell the story. I mean, it's not that
Well, I'd
every
offer,
Indian is building a house, but this is what's happening. We've opened the gate. There's a loophole that can be corrupted, and the unscrupulous are coming through and using that loophole. So it has to be closed, or we need a government who's actually more interested in protecting the citizens of Australia, whatever race they are, from unscrupulous people like this. This is, we have
We're
to put
always
some
told
structures.
we're
Go
always
ahead, John.
told that mass migration is for the benefit of the entire nation. So how is this of benefit to anybody?
Yes.
We've had
my
flooding
fear is this.
Right. Can I just say, this is Gary. Thanks for talking, Gary. Good builders have been regulated and priced out of the industry. Heaps of real estate agents, totally unqualified with building licenses, been going on for years. Thanks, mate. So
Hmm.
this is maybe something we're uncovering now. That this is it. It's like I talked to another business owner the other day. He's going under, and he said he's doing everything that the government wants him to do, and he can't make money. And near him, there are some new migrants that are obviously paying their employees like $10 an hour or something like this, and they are surviving in these hard economic times. But these other poor people who are trying to do everything that the government asks them to do simply cannot survive. It's going against just natural business.
Where this expands, let me tell you something interesting. I went down to my printer. I was picking up printing for the party, and then we were discussing my plans for affordable housing. He said, "Go around the corner, just down the road. There's a place making small homes." And I said, "I've just visited a couple, but yeah, I'm here. I'll go down and see them." And I went to the wrong place. I went to a different place, right? And I'm talking to the guy. And he goes, "Oh, Mark Aldridge, I follow you on Facebook." I went, "Okay, how you going?" And he goes, he told me this story. I think you should hear this. He makes these small homes. They transport them and assemble them on
Yeah.
site, right?
Yep.
And he said that there's a big block of land next to him. So he's in a residential, not a residential, an industrial part, right? Guys have been coming into him that can't speak English. They bring interpreters. They're Indian. They've got contracts from the federal government to help build these smaller homes, offered to pay him whatever he wants for his business, and he's going to have the land next door. And he said, "We'll just pay what you want because we have funding from the federal government." Now, I don't know what that even means, but the
Wow.
guy is not a liar. He told me, he's a guy that I know, well, on social media. He told me that story, and I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what the deal with India, for instance, is. If you have 1 million people migrate to the country, why is 70% or 65% India? Why can't it be like Indonesia? My daughter tried to come here. She's not officially my daughter, but she's my daughter. She calls me dad, right? And she's now 30, and she travels the world. But it took me a year to get a visa for her just to visit me as a tourist. So what is going on? Why is migration so high when the majority of the country don't want that anymore? And we know that. State Labor here want to bring in an extra 17,000 people from Palestine. As a lefty sort of look at us, we're going to try and help everybody. But if you're going to do that, you're not going to bring them here and hand them a tent. As I said before, you're going to put them into housing. Well, what about the people living on the streets in South Australia?
Yeah.
Okay, some might be mental health causes, some is division,
No, no, Mark. I've been traveling down. I'm telling you, town after town, I got homeless everywhere. And the homeless is only you see the people living in tents. Others are crowd surfing. Others are living in cars. I mean, that's what we're saying at the moment. The cost of fuel is so high now. What about all these poor people living in cars? They have to move on. But yesterday, I'm in Perth at the moment. We're stuck here because the fuel price. We went from Bassendean. It was a 39-minute drive from Bassendean, a suburb on the other side of Perth, to Fremantle, where we are now. The first petrol station we passed, it was 2.59 for fuel, and it kept going up in this 49 minutes. By the time we reached Fremantle, it was $2.83 a litre. Just in that
I
short
remember
30-minute time.
I remember screaming out as a federal election candidate back in, oh God, as long ago as 21, that, why can't we be self-sufficient in everything in this country? I don't see why we can't. And the mass migration is causing these issues, and maybe, just maybe, the government's gone, well, we can't start delving into all these people building shit homes, because it makes the whole migration policy and building policy in this country ridiculous. I went to do a bit of an expose, but I was a bit late. So there's a new building estate out here called River Lee. I was involved in River Lee because they dug up a whole lot of Aboriginal bones, or there was some. Well, they didn't know they were Aboriginal bones. They were covering up finding bones. So I went out there and exposed it. Ended up being Aboriginal heritage site. They built a whole subdivision there with no thought to where roads would go, no buses, no postal service, low pressure water, no sewage. 20,000 homes, no sewage. The sewage is pumped out by truck every day. And I went online to say, look, really, that's not planning? Where's the planning in that? So now they're running water and sewage past my place. I'm rural, right? And I'm surrounded by all the farmers that provide most of the fresh produce to South Australians. Not everything, but, a majority of, like, your tomatoes and, your consumables. And they're putting in this mass pipe. And I ring up SA Water and I go, why are you putting in a 6-foot pipe? Obviously, you intend to supply a hell of a lot of water out here. And I know you're not giving it to the farmers because you hate them. What's going on? Oh, we can't talk about that till after the election. So they're about to carve up the premium farmland here as residential, because those facilities will be here, because that pipe running out past me is to try and connect up to this River Lee, which is miles away. Because they've got no sewage, they've got no water, they're having all sorts of problems. So a brand new subdivision, I was down there yesterday, day before, and they're digging up the subdivision because it's just to finish off on this, it's built on a floodplain. So they tried building a moat. Have you ever seen anyone build a moat around a subdivision? And now they're trying to dig more properties. They're finding more bones, more artifacts. They're cutting down more trees. And now the water level is 2 meters down. Would you build a foundation for a home somewhere where the water level is just 2 meters down? Well, I'm sorry, I wouldn't. So I'm worried about every aspect of this migration, needing more homes, thinking expansion does everything. And then we go and look at it and go, oh, but it's essential workers we're bringing in. And you find out that only 7% are skilled workers. And now we know that probably half of those skilled workers have come here under false pretenses.
Yeah.
So we're just creating a disaster that will, unless it's nipped in the bud quickly, 5 years' time, can you imagine what this state or this country will look like if we go down this route of building junk like this? Houses falling down, people living on the streets. It could be the worst destruction of a nation you've ever seen. And yet we're the richest country, one of the richest countries in the world, and where's the wealth? How can someone be homeless? I just don't get any of it.
Yeah.
It's amazing that this total demographic rewrite of Australia was never bounced off the electorate. Albanese never went to the last election saying that he was going to dramatically alter the demography of Australia, which at the current immigration rates it most certainly is. And the general public was never asked. And as a result, we've got flat wages and a housing crisis, rental crisis, strained resources, strained roads, strained hospitals, strained schools. I mean, where does it end and why? You say immigration is necessary, but we've had this for decades from a pretty low level to Malcolm Fraser was the first one that said he wanted a big Australia. He's supposedly conservative and was completely pro migration. So the general public has nowhere to turn really but one nation at the moment. So how's that all playing? And yourself, I suppose. I don't
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about your party. Maybe you can tell
Uh,
us a little bit about the politics of it and what's it like.
okay, all right.
Tell us how
Don't
you.
ask for it because you'll get it. I'm telling you.
All right. Yeah. Well, when
Look,
did you found the party? And tell us all.
well, look, everybody kept saying, remember the freedom movement, like all the federal parties should work together. So I was national director of a party with 100 candidates federally, so we were reasonably big. And we just got whitewashed over because things went wrong for us and financially we couldn't compete. That was Australian Federation Party. And everyone thought that
So
we were
you
going
had
to have
100
this.
candidates in South Australia. Sorry.
No, that was federally, that was cross
Oh
country.
yeah. All right.
So everybody thought that there'd be, as people were waking up to the disaster the two-party political systems become, and it hasn't just become that, it's been a disaster for 30, 40 years. And I've been running against the two-party system for a long time, trying to expose the whole aspects of it. And then we thought the freedom movement would come together. But of course, what we did was we wore our unity on our sleeves. Now, that didn't work too well, right? We should have learned something from that. Because what happens in politics is Labor don't win on their own back. They win on preferences from AJP. They win from preferences from the Greens, right? That's how they exist. The Liberal Party federally have run on preferences from the Nationals and from the smaller Conservative parties, right? So there's never been anything but coalitions that have run this country within reason for a long time. Now we see this change in South Australia. So I started a party and my membership come from, I was the leader of One Nation in 2006 and 7. I wrote most of their policy. We've got people from the Democrats. We've got people from all different parties, partners parties, everything else. So we tried to put together, and that's why we called it United Voice. So we were trying to put something together that would, and the candidates are chosen on the fact that they work in and support the community daily in their lives. In other words, we wanted people that are less likely to get bought off by money. That's the interests were the public domain, and most of our guys are into homelessness or NDIS, proper NDIS provisions, advocating for elderly in the courts, those sorts of things. So that's the team you have here. And then we have this rise, just when we're doing well, of One Nation, right? Now, I'm not going to bag out One Nation. I understand why the rise has happened. But, people have sat there and gone, Liberal and Labor suck, and they know Pauline exists. But Pauline's party I've run the party. Pauline's party is a couple of senators in Queensland. They don't have a grassroots operating party in South Australia that's ever been elected. The majority of people elected to One Nation leave, 2/3. The reason they do that, they haven't set up a very tangible, powerful party that allows internal debate. So, the Labor Party is pretty shocking, but the Liberals aren't too bad. The Liberals can go in and they can argue about policy, and then that brings policy change if the majority of members vote a certain way. One Nation's been very dictatorial, and I get that. Sorry, I really do get that. I actually support that to a degree with how they run. But they've turned up in South Australia, and everyone's going, "Oh, Mark, you're no good anymore. We're going One Nation." But I don't think they've run their show good enough to actually get anyone elected in the lower house. So we could viably end up in South Australia with a landslide to Labor, which is the last thing in the world we need. And so the last bastion of defence is going to be the upper house, so that we can work together. So I'm happy to work with some One Nation guys, Corey Bernardi and his second runner. They'll probably get in the upper house. The Liberals will lose, so they'll only run a couple in the upper house if they're lucky. Labor will easily get 5 or something like that. It leaves room for a few others. So I'm just hoping at the moment that the best outcome for us is to get someone in the upper house. But the intention was to work with One Nation, Family First, Fair Go. There's a few of us conservative minor parties in South Australia, and work together to target Labor-safe seats. And that hasn't happened. So I've done it. My candidates are targeting safe Labor seats, and then we're putting out policy that's slightly left. We're doing an animal welfare policy, good environmental policy, good healthcare policy, with the concept of dragging votes from the left and dropping them in the centre of politics to be used by all of us. If that makes sense, taking the votes away from the Labor Party. One Nation have refused to come to the table to talk about preferencing at all, and they've actually putting out a how to vote card that just says vote for us and no one else kind of thing. And that's fine as well. It's all fine. Everyone can do it their way. I'm not saying who's right or wrong. What I'm saying is that there could have been a more concerted effort to take the seats off of Labor, because you can imagine if Labor win more seats, they're going to be so empowered by that we're going to be on the back foot further than we were when this all started, at a time when so many people are waking up to the two-party system's the destruction of our future. It would have been nicer to come together better. So I have some issues with One Nation on that. And I'll tell you one of the issues I have, but this is not them. There's a lot of my friends that were supported me for 20 years in the community of going, oh, we're going them because they're the only ones that can win. And I'm going, well, doesn't kind of work that way. But anyway, the upper house needs to be sort of split with people, because if we see two people elected to One Nation, for instance, and one of them jumps ship and becomes independent, which has been happening in South Australia with the minor parties for years. At the moment, we've had 2 or 3 of the minor parties, their people running lead candidates have actually quit their parties before they've even had an election. So we really need to know that there's some people up there, and I'd like to be one of them, that are there to protect everybody. But I'm not sure One Nation are ready to rule the country yet, but I am seeing massive change from One Nation. I'm seeing their federal are coming together well. They're coming up with policies that are genuinely acceptable, very similar to mine. There'd be no difference. They still haven't got around to doing funding allocations for those policies. I think they could head there now. But we haven't seen any private member bills passed for One Nation since they existed. So it's hard to look back. You can look back at voting standards and everything else. So my opinion is with South Australia is put Labor, Liberal, Greens last, and jump your vote around between the Conservative parties in the hope that we can take votes away from the majors. But I think we could have done a better job of working together, not on our sleeves, but in the background. A few phone calls, a bit of a chat. I think we could have done better. So does that answer?
Talk about, yeah, kind of. Does your migration policy hit a certain number, like where miles, we're like 8 times more than it was a couple of decades ago? So
well, we look at it
number, or it's just we need skilled migration, which can basically mean anything. I don't see why you can't just put a stop to it and let things settle down, basically.
That was my position right along until I started looking at healthcare. So my position was stop migration completely when I ran the rallies, and have a pause on migration to enable us to get back on our feet, get the people that are homeless into homes, make sure we can produce the homes and everything else. But where it came apart was when we looked at healthcare. So it's strictly healthcare, because we need 3 new hospitals in South Australia. We may or may not ever get them, but if we're going to get them at the moment, we don't have the training. We're not training people. So we need to initiate training services, free training services to build up our nurses and our midwives and our hospitals workers and our doctors, right? But we don't have them. So obviously we have to maintain some level of migration to fulfill.
Well, why don't you fix the initial problem? 50% of doctors receiving payments from Medicare are born overseas. I mean, where does this end? Why have we sold our sovereignty so drastically? And what benefit is it to any of the residents who are, homeless?
We need to train. I think it needs to be free training. We need to train people now. We need to start tomorrow. We need these people desperately. The problem we've got is that people sometimes don't understand that we've dug a hole. We haven't. The major parties have dug a hole for us. We're stuck in the hole with a large amount of people here who can't simply be deported. I mean, if they're citizens of the country, the High Court won't let you touch them, mate. So if they're already here, and this is why I've gone down a unity track, we don't want culture wars either, right? We don't want to start culture wars.
No.
with people that have actually. I mean, up until 5 years ago, we didn't have these issues, and there was Muslims, there were Hindus, there were
yeah.
everybody else,
That's
and we
why,
all
Divine.
worked.
Can I ask Mark? Do you, and this is to John as well. Do you think that this is the end of globalization? I mean, basically, say I came here in 1970. I was 5, and in those days, I was a migrant. They were bringing in the palms like crazy. But Dad said there was so much work around. And we were in South Australia. We came to Adelaide. There was buses driving down the street like mine. They'd stop and go, "Hey, you want a job?" Because they were so desperate for workers. And one man could work, pay off a mortgage, take his family on a holiday. His wife could stay home. She could work if she wants, but she could afford to stay home. And we built everything. You look in 1970s, all the cars we built, all the houses we built, the washing machines, the toasters, you name it, we built it. We literally were completely self-sufficient. And the fuel that was in our cars was our fuel. Now we can't build shit. And now we're here. Is this basically the end of globalization? This is what's happened. It was sold to us that we're all going to be super, super wealthy, but here we are now basically becoming paupers on top of the biggest mine in the world.
No, we've turned our country into a pack of wage slaves. We're all wage slaves. We're all paying unbelievable amounts of tax for what? No.
In South Australia, for every 100 workers, 17 work for the government.
Yeah,
17.
And this is the question.
I mean, there's no
asking,
working.
where does it end? Where does it end? How do we get out of this?
To fix this, right, what we've got to do to fix this, if you want my opinion, after 25 years, and there's no easy fix, right? We need to get rid of the two-party system. We need to change electoral law so that system can never grow again. We need to start to realise that everything that's been built by the two-party system is broken and rubbish. I was at a forum the other day. We were talking about something, and it was about gun law. I got invited along to speak alongside Corey and others from One Nation. And they talk about, I get to shoot 25 pheasants on my property, but the cost of doing that's gone up to $1,400. And all the parties are going, well, we'll cap it at $1,400. We won't make sure it gets. And I got up and said, what the hell do you have to pay? I understand there's a cap on how many, but if you're allowed to shoot 25 pheasants on your property, why do you have to have and you've got a firearms license and it's your property, why do you have to have a permit to do it? For God's sake. And we're broken. The place is broken now. All we can do now is people seem to know it's broken, but we need to put forward a different strated political system. You need to have this, stop this one nation or no nation, Labor, Liberal, everything else. If you start taking the power off of Labor or the power off of Liberal, they'll reform. They'll reform and try and come back, right? They will. They'll reform. They want to be in power. You need you don't have to have one political party run the country. You could have good people from structured parties that work together, because when this place was built, there was no political parties, my friend. When this place was built, it was built on the back of good people that stood up for the community. So first of all, you've got to reform that aspect. Then you've got to say, okay, the people that are here now, the citizens that are here now, let's unite to fix the problem. It's no use going, the Aboriginals are this and this and this, which is what we're seeing coming out of the, supposedly competing parties, where they're dividing the community. We're better off uniting the community and coming forward as a powerful tool. I think a united people are a more powerful tool than this division we're seeing. You can win an election by being a divisional bastard, because you just got to get a certain amount of votes and preferences to get in. But a real leader should come out right now, and we've got some, they're there, and come out and say, we need to be united. This is stuff, we need to fix this and come back from it by all working together. Dividing up the community is only going to make social problems become bigger and bigger and bigger, and we don't need that. And so I don't think there's many leaders standing up. There's a few that are, but I think Pauline, to some degree, has pushed people across to the conservative right, and quite maybe a little bit too far right. Maybe it needs to come back a little bit to the left, not to the centre.
What's left and right, really? I mean,
I don't get it either.
You've got 30% of the population of Australia is born overseas now, 32%, whatever it is, in that order, and that's not a recipe for social cohesion. It's just too much, and it's the public narrative driven by the ABC and Fairfax and the rest of them. It's all about minorities. It's nothing to do with the muddling middle, all of whom feel left out of the narrative. That's why Michael's project is doing so extremely well. Is all these people that listen to Michael, for instance, thousands of them, all are being completely ignored by the mainstream media. They're there and they have their views, and none of what they say is given any credence whatsoever. So that's why independent media is flourishing in this country, I think.
Well, I think these are the sorts of discussions that everybody should be having. And I've just sat and looked at. I was talking to a guy from the US who wants to join forces. Well, from the US, sorry, Australian citizen, went to the US for years, come back, and he was telling me there's towns and areas there where everyone lived beautifully together, and then all this sort of racist stuff come up, and now it's become a cesspool of their kids going to school and being attacked for being the wrong colour, wrong religion, what their parents' religion was, and all this sort of stuff, and it's become a shit-hole. So he's moved back to Australia, and I kind of, while we're doing this, we need to be very, very aware that we don't create that sort of problem here. And I think that problem's already here, and I think we're seeing these certain areas of South Australia where they're populated mainly by certain ethnic groups, and I think that's dangerous. I think when we grew slowly, when I grew up in Parafield Gardens, which was a sort of very low-income area, the people in my street were Italian, German, Greek, so on, but they came in at different stages, and so each street would have different people that get on. But if we create division, then what we create, I think that would create people wanting to live in certain areas because their ethnic, friends are living there, and then we create this messy, non-inclusive social division, and then people can sit back and say, "Oh yeah, we'll just boot them all out." I see that all the time. You can't.
Yeah. No, you can't.
You can't.
It's ridiculous. You can't. You're going to have a war on your hands. Why should they leave if they've been here 10, 15 years or something?
Some of them have been. I've got a Turkish. One of my market stallholders is Turkish. They're Islam. Sorry, a Muslim. I never knew. I don't ask people their religion. They've been there with me for 14 years. I've watched their kids grow up, and I've watched their kids have children. And every time I call out, because there's a fire on, I need food. This person's homeless. Can I have some food? They're the first one to dip into their pockets for the food, right? So we've got to stop this. Everybody's bad, and that. I don't think people get wrong.
At the same time, we've got to call out the problems. I mean, this thing with the building is a real problem. This is basically the hiding underneath the race card, doing dodgy stuff, making copious amounts of money. They don't give a shit. They're not even Australians. So they're coming over here. This is great, man. He's going to go back.
Well, he can just leave. And this is where the ABC destroys stuff. They say they love multiculturalism, right? Which doesn't work. We know that. They say they love multiculturalism, but they're there to protect all the minorities, and without expecting that if you're going to protect the cultures, the right to have their own cultures of other people, you've got to protect the culture of the country. It doesn't work otherwise. People have got to come here understanding that we have a culture. The reason they're coming here is that it's resulted in building a beautiful country. And now they're just willy-nilly letting people in and saying, "Oh, we care more about your feelings and your culture than our own." And they think, "Oh, okay, well, Australians are weak. We can play them because there's this race card." Or this guy pulled the race card. If you see the video, he's gone, "Oh, you're only attacking me because I'm black." No, and I said to him, "I'm not attacking you because you're black. I'm attacking you because you're a rip-off merchant and you're putting families' lives at risk, mate." And he had to make it about colour. This is rubbish. A good person can be any colour.
Yeah.
But we do have the migration problem with Muslims. I do. I'm not.
When you talked about culture, I'm telling you, I've been talking to a lot of young people, and 2 or 3 of them have gone on record, been recorded. They don't see that we have a culture. They don't see it. So with the culture we grew up in, they're in it now. They don't see that we have a culture at all. One beautiful young woman said to me, all she sees is a load of people doing their own thing. And she wishes we had a culture. And so maybe this is where we start. We're actually, who are we now? We know who we used to be. Because I did something the other day. I've been interviewing these Iranians, and I've done 3 interviews with them. before the crash and now. And she said something that I thought, wow. She said they banned dancing in Iran. The regime banned public dancing, and yet before that, dancing was that was the part of their culture. Their identity was that they loved dancing, they loved living. I said to her, in Australia, we used to take the piss, and like Paul Hogan was our ambassador to the world. This is who we are. We're patriots. We've got great hearts. We're easygoing, and we love taking the piss. Now, with these offense rules and hate speech laws, people can't take the piss. So we're basically oppressed and we don't even realize it. And it doesn't get any better. If you talk to anyone from these Eastern Bloc countries, the X one, they say it just continues to get worse until the people say no. And I think here's where we are. We're watching our country going downhill, and we're all trying to ride it to see how do we do this? How do we, let's try right it. When in actual fact, at some point, there has to be some line in the sand. And maybe that's who they see Pauline as. Maybe the only politician who has a chance of drawing a line in the sand, even though they don't know. They're just hoping because they're so desperate, because Liberal and Labor are basically just what would you call lubricating the slope.
The Lib
like
Lab
yesterday.
Uni Party.
Yeah, the
I get that, and
politician
I'm
came
not.
out yesterday, said we give 8 times all this gas we give away. It's not all on contracts. We give 8 times the gas that we need to survive as a nation away for free, because they get more money from overseas than us. That's our frigging gas. So we're going.
I get it, and I my involvement with Pauline was getting her out of jail, so I helped run the appeal because I'm into electoral law. So electoral laws, to me, one of the biggest problems. No one gets it yet, but when one day they will, I'll try and help out. I get Pauline's position. I know Malcolm really well. I know James Ashby really well. I have no objection to people going over to that party, but I do worry sometimes, as I said to you, that just if you try, and someone said to me the other day, what's the difference between you and One Nation? I said, well, not really a lot. I have environmental policy because I'm an animal welfare policy, because I'm an animal rescuer. So, there's people on the left that might want to slip over to the right and like me, and that's good. But I don't like the idea of. I think there's still. I think whether you say it's them or whether you say it's their supporters, we need to stop the divisional stuff a little bit. I understand why we're where we are, but I think we have to realise that as leaders or people potentially wanting to be leaders, that we have to say, look, some of these people are here. If you keep offending them, they're going to be pushed aside and angry and frightened, and that's going to cause more division in the community. I think that just has to play a little part in the way we move forward, and I think you understand what I'm saying there. And I do like the fact that people are jumping away from Labor and the Liberal and the Greens, but I'm not seeing it reflected at the moment. So however we're doing it, whether it's Pauline, me, or anyone else, I don't think we're doing it right yet, because in the lower house, Labor is still maintaining a 44-45% primary, and I hate that exists, but we're not obviously getting it quite right, and we need to get it quite right really, really quickly right now. And so I don't know what that change needs to be, and I'd love to be all working together. I mean, that's what I try to do with United Voice. So I'd like to sit down with Corey, and Andy, and Carlos, he's the leader here, and James Ashby, and Family First, and everybody, and sit down, which is starting to happen, if you're not aware, at a federal level, but at a state level, we haven't seen that cohesion yet, which is means that it's people need to. A lot of people don't know how to vote too. You've really got to do a story one day. It's a very simple thing, but it's people don't grasp it. But people always say to me every day, if I vote for you, where does my vote go? And I said, wherever you put it, because you're filling in the ballot paper. And they really have no concept that that's how it happens. And,
all right, so winding up and
better wind up,
basically.
Shut me up.
It always seems to. Michael will talk forever. So
first off, I haven't said a word. First off, I think if anyone's going through this with the building stuff themselves, contact us. We're happy to tell your story. So that might help with Mark's case. We got other stories out there, and it's not against the Indian thing, but this is really happening, and our country's suffering because of it. So, John, what do you want to say?
Yeah, could you sum up, just say for people who didn't hear the first half hour, for instance, just sum up what the situation is that you're seeing on building sites in South Australia and how that reflects broader problems in the country.
Well, I think to put it simply, we've got standards in this country that are meant to be maintained. We've got migrant workers coming over that are trying to ignore that, and for whether racial card or loopholes or whatever, they're getting away with it. So if you have family, you have friends, you have anyone about to buy a house, especially brand new builds. This is brand new builds. If you're about to build a brand new build, spend the money on getting it checked very, very carefully. That would be irrelevant of who's building it, but particularly in these cases. And I would do that. I would say we need regulatory change, because we can't have people coming here building substandard, not sticking to the rules and regulations.
No.
So we need politics to open their eyes. But we have to safeguard families, and we have to make sure not just that they're safe financially to lose everything, but we could lose lives. Young children could lose lives as a result of these poor practices. And I'll do my best to expose them. And I suspect after the election, I'll probably get a bit more of a voice to do that using the mainstream media. But just spread the word to everybody. Share this video. Go to my page if you want to share some of the pictures, and make sure that if your kids are buying something, go along with them. Get them a building inspector. Pay the $500. It's the best insurance ever.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, Mark. Thank you for coming and bringing this on the Sunday. Thanks, John, for getting up, and you're looking beautiful. And
He does look handsome today. I think he's looking pretty handsome. I think both of you are making me look old.
I am old,
keep trying to cover that. Seeing more
my
videos of me I don't see, and then all of a sudden I'm going, oh my God, I'm old. I avoid mirrors. It's a great way to live.
All right,
So we've been talking with.
You go ahead.
We've been talking with Mark Aldridge, United Voice Australia, who's a candidate in the South Australian election, and has been talking about the very shoddy state of building houses in the state that he's been witnessing.
Buyer beware.
Yeah, buyer beware. So thank you very much, Mark, and good to see you, Michael. Yeah.
Take care, Mark. Thanks for coming on, man. Keep up the great work.
I'll go have some breakfast and off to candidate meet. Love you all. Thank you for listening, and please spread the word.
Yep, we're done. See you, John. Share this.
See you, mate. Bye.
See you.
When I met Jesus Christ, he was almost 10 years old, and he was helping his mother push a trolley full of all they owned. And because they couldn't find an inn they could get in, they were heading to the city and leaving Bethlehem. Couldn't you perform a miracle? I'm out of them, he said. I tried turning nothing into warmth, but it just made my mother cry. It just made my mother cry. Mary Magdalene has become a man, and tonight he's old, and she has been riding my tram. Now it's late and she's trying to sleep beneath the poster for a bank. Your dreams are important to us as it bathes her face in gold. Come give us your natural gifts, we make wealth from toil. Come pretend for history's page that we're advancing Australia fair. Let's pretend that we're all advancing Australia fair. Back down the road I found the church we built on the black man's bones was empty, and out the front a sign read all but sold. A sign read all but sold. And we all owe so much money, but to whom we're so heavy.